Mercury going into Taurus, inherently, that means it's at 0 degrees. It is leaving the previous sign, 29 degrees of Aries, and then going to 0 degrees of Taurus. So whenever we have an ingress, it's always when it passes that 0 degree mark. So this is happening on Saturday, the 10th, based on, and I'll throw this in the chat, Eastern time, so my time zone, it is Saturday at 8:15 a.m. So I'll put this in the chat if anybody wants to grab this and make note. Each of these components here, so whenever you're looking at a transit, you're looking at the planet itself. What are the archetypes of the planet? What does it represent? And the sign that it is in, what does that represent? And then when you layer into your chart, you can add the house. So Mercury is the planet of communication, travel. It represents in a natal chart the mind, your intellectual processing, how you think about things, how you speak, how you prefer to communicate, engage with other people. And then when we're talking about Taurus, we are currently in Taurus season, which is Sun in Taurus. So Mercury entering Taurus as well is impacting how you are communicating based on the energies of Taurus. What you look for in the birth chart is 0 degrees of Taurus. So where does Taurus start? And then you're trying to see from the inner circle, which house number is it? So if Misty's saying her chart, it's 7. For me, it's 11. And this, you can do this either way if you're using whole sign or if you're using Placidus where you have multiple houses. This is why you'd want to look. So if you're using a whole sign system, then it's kind of easy. It's pretty straightforward. But if you have Placidus, then where Taurus begins could be in the middle of another house, and then it could end and it's in a different house. So each of the signs themselves are 0 to 29 degrees, aka 30 degrees. And then the house system just shifts how the pie chart is divided. So Taurus energy is known to be stubborn, slow to move, resistant to change. Taurus wants to be cozy, comfortable. It's very sensual and sensory based. So it wants to eat, drink, touch, see things, hear things. So it's very much connected to the world around it. It's an earth sign, but it's not as fast moving as the sign that we just came from, which is Aries, which wants to go do things, fire sign. It's also associated with luxury. So that can be money, or it can be just like having nice things. In the long and short is that you may be experiencing starting on Saturday or wherever it is in your time zone, a slowdown in how you are processing, speaking, communicating, because Taurus wants to move slower. For Mercury and Aries, that's more likely to be very blunt, direct, not having a filter, because it's like impulsive speech. When you move into Taurus, it's a little bit softer, it's slower, it's more at ease, thinking about as well, because it's not just about your speaking and your writing, it's about your thoughts. So you may be thinking more about just trying to be comfortable, grounded, thinking about your finances, even more than maybe you already have, depending on where you're at in life. Mercury is a very fast-moving planet, and it's going to be in Taurus for the bulk of May. And then it will actually leave before the month ends and move into Gemini. So we'll talk about that in the part 2 of this class. May 10th to May 25th is when Mercury will be in Taurus. So that's where you can identify potentially a shift in yourself and see how much is what Mercury is up to really showing up in my life. And it's a great test for that. You can look back at the retrograde periods. We talked about that in my March and even some of my April classes. I have a blog post all about that Mercury retrograde. So also available, link in my bio. You can go to the blog on my website. And I just view all of these different transits as opportunities. You can do them totally in retrospect. You can also forecast out so you know what to be aware of. But understanding that people are going to feel them differently. So if you have Mercury as your chart ruler, you may feel some of these transits more. If you have a really strong Mercury in your chart, or if you're having a Mercury return, as an example, if you have Mercury in Taurus within your natal chart, you may experience kind of being like lit up more, like you're functioning even better in how you're thinking and speaking. And so for some people, the slowdown might feel like a drag and they don't love it. And for you, it may be invigorating. So this is where it's important to understand your personal astrology. So we do have a couple seventh house people who have shared in the chat. So if you're talking about seventh house, this is your committed partnerships. This can be romantic, it can be business, it's really anything that's long term. So in addition to thinking about finances or thinking about what makes you feel comfortable and grounded, and taking things slow, you could be applying that mindset to your relationships. Should I really be entering this relationship? Is it making me feel comfortable and grounded? Is it impacting my finances? So it can shift the lens through which you are looking at your relationships. Ninth house is looking at learning, teaching, belief system. So that can be religion, it can be spirituality, using different modalities or divination tools, long distance travel. So it's how are you expanding with knowledge, your sense of self, or how are you disseminating knowledge out to other people? It's also publishing as well. And Mercury as a sign of communication, you can see how that lines up very neatly. So it's really ramping up what you are teaching about, what you're talking about, what you're writing about, what you're sharing. And yeah, it would be considering maybe it has the themes of Taurus. So it's teaching about money or talking about money or comfort or etc. Like any of those sensory themes that can crop up with Taurus. Third house Taurus and fourth house. Yeah, so if you're using Placidus and you have two different, so third house is similar to ninth, it's the opposite. So it's communication, but it's in like the smaller scale. So it's kind of just writing in general, communicating in general, technology. It's short distance travel, so it tends to be like, your car breaks down or something like that, like when Mercury's retrograde, and especially if it's in like the third house or something. It also relates to siblings. And then fourth house expands that out farther. So it's a farther circle, and it's focusing on your foundations, your ancestry, your family, caretaking, all that jazz.